Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Success Agent Podcast. I'm JD and we interview top agents, broker owners, top people in the industry in real estate. And today we've got JD Tomlin. He's going to drop some knowledge on us today. He's going to tell us a little bit about who he is, where he's from, talk about your numbers from last year, your average price point, what your gross commission was last year, and how many people are on your team. And here we go.
Absolutely, JP. Thanks so much. Yeah, JD Tomlin here. We do our business mostly in the North Dallas-Fort Worth region in Texas. And we've been in EXP for about 2 years now, and the real estate business about going on 11 years. We have recently, thanks to COVID, found a couple of team members that were not as highly motivated to grow their business. And so we grew from a team of 11 to 7 overnight, and we've become leaner and meaner. And we'll still hit our goals in 2020. 2019, we closed 170 units for a $62 million volume. And the average price point for us in the North Dallas area, Frisco being exactly where our home base is, but we'll cover a large North Dallas region, is about 375 to 400K. And our gross commission income for the team last year was roughly 1.8 million. Now, prior to COVID, we obviously, as everyone probably listening to this podcast knows, there was low-hanging fruit in real estate, at least in North Texas, where it's the fastest growing market in the country. Frisco, McKinney, Plano, where we live, are typically in the top 5 fastest growing cities in America every year. And so agents get a little bit lazy. They get a little bit comfortable with business just falling in your lap. And, one thing that I think COVID has really helped us with is determining that, business is going to be require a little more work, effort, and intelligence and knowledge and how to accrue it and procure it and help people find and buy and sell real estate. And secondly, the agents that are willing to work are the ones that are going to last. Those that aren't, won't. And so that's why we have made a shift in our team structure. Had a few agents that weren't willing to put in the daily amount of time invested to build the business, and so they're on their own or building their own teams now. Whatever they want to do, I bless them. So we have found that this market, even though COVID has created some uncertainty and some fear in some people in the North Texas region anyway, it's blowing and going right now. It's our spring market in June and July. And we are really moving some properties. We can't keep them on the market. Our inventory of listings here is about a month and a half right now, which obviously if you don't know what that means when we talk about listing inventory, if nothing else came on the market in a month and a half, every home that would be sold that's on the market. So there's an average of 6 months is what's a healthy market, and we're well below that. So it's a big sellers market right now here. Now, that being said, JP, I'd love to just answer questions that you may have, as well as just dialogue about this topic today, how to turn your sphere into a gold mine. And I'm just going to jump right into that, if that's okay.
Let's do it.
So when I started in this business, I had the probably unusual luxury of having lived in this area for about 20 years at the time. My wife was a school teacher, and my previous career before real estate, don't hate me, don't turn me off, don't end this podcast now, but I was a pastor for a number of years. And so clearly I had a sphere of influence, a fairly large database of people who trusted me, who knew me, people whose lives that I had invested in, married and buried, and helped them, been there at the bedside when they had babies, and you name it, we were involved in a lot of people's lives. That being said, so we have a pretty large database. And I apologize for the background noise. All of a sudden, I realized that there's a conference going on right behind me, and you're hearing it. I'm so sorry about that. But I'm going to stay focused while the background noise is going on. So we had a database starting out with several thousand people. Now, as people have joined our team and they've added to our database, one of the things I've discovered is it's like any mine. If you go to Colorado or Wyoming or Montana, wherever you are, and most mines that you find today are unproductive mines. Nobody's touching them. Nobody's doing anything to them. Nobody's putting in any work. And there's still gold in them Dar hills, they say. And so I found that if you don't start connecting with your database regularly, if you don't keep it fresh, if you don't know how people's where they live now and how to contact them, it's futile, right? And so we started really cleaning our database up. And then during COVID, I spent 2 months. I started on March the 15th, and I spent 3 to 4 hours a day for 2 months until May the 15th, JP, going through every name, every email, every phone number, spouses, children, and really, really working on how do I improve what we thought was already a very robust database. And so we began to contact every person in that database via phone calls, emails, text messages, handwritten notes, and started building a pipeline that for 2020 will at least meet, if not exceed, our goals in an economy in which a lot of people are really struggling. And so I want to encourage you that today is a good day to start on improving your database. And so we use KV Core. Obviously, EXP provides that for us, and we found it to be a great CRM. And so, as a matter of fact, I looked at it just a moment ago. We've got 2 or 3 new leads that came in overnight, and every day we have several leads hitting KV Core as a result of our reaching out to our database, people sharing our information with others, and then some of the campaigns that we have. Certainly when someone's looking for a home, they get an automated email, an automated text through KV Core for us. And so it's a very robust system that communicates with about 10,000 people in our database on a regular basis. So that being said, I'm hoping this background noise is going to shut off here in just a moment. I feel terrible that it's going on, but let's jump in for just a moment into some of that content. You know, when I started really working on this database, I really began to realize that, you know, superstar realtors, those of us that have turned, you know, and have a fair amount of business and that do at least have some high goals, set them and meet them, we have some things in common. We're really good at selling. We're really good at having talent and skills that it requires to sell. We're competitive. We have the drive to perform. We understand how to manage the sales process, ask great questions, deliver winning presentations, close the deal. We're really good at having emotional intelligence. We're people savvy. We have a winning mindset. But here's the deal. So do lots of realtors, JP. Lots of realtors possess the drive and hunger to succeed. Lots of realtors have the intelligence and talent and skills and education to be top performers. Lots of realtors are competitive, understand the sales process, know how to ask for business, but yet they consistently underperform those few of us that really make an impact in the market. And the real reason is we understand what it means to be fanatical in our prospecting. And those of us that really have high goals and crush them are relentless. We're unstoppable prospectors with our database. We're obsessive about keeping our pipeline full of prospects. We prospect anywhere, anytime, turning over rocks, looking for the next opportunity. We're unstoppable. We're always on. We're fanatical. And that word fanatical, just break it down, is just simple. It's motivated or characterized by an extreme, uncritical enthusiasm. And here's a crazy example. I'm not even in my hometown. For a couple of days, I came down to see my folks. My mom's in the hospital. My dad needs some assistance. I'm helping him with appointments. But wherever we go, and I'm not even anywhere close to our market center, I always have the mindset of how can I help people? And so yesterday, we're sitting in the dentist office, and in the lobby of the dentist office, I got a referral because someone is needing to sell their house hundreds of miles away from our market center. And now I've got an agent that's connected to them to help them list their home, simply because I'm always prospecting. Wherever I am, I have the mindset that people need our services. They need our help. They need our professionalism. And so it just, wherever you are, it's be all there, right? I mean, it's just being constantly mindful of the fact that if we're going to hit our goals, if we're going to make a difference in people's lives, if we're going to make a difference in our families. So I've got 4 kids. 2 are in college, one's out and married. The last one is going into college. But I've got big goals, JP. I mean, not only do I need to sell a lot of houses, but I just truly love helping more and more people. And
Yeah.
that's how we built our team. We built our team with a mindset of people that need and want to serve others well. And to, there's a lot of you probably listening today that have a business model that's very different than ours. You may be prospecting by farming neighborhoods, or you may be doing cold leads. And those are all great and fine. I met with a great broker about a week ago. We were talking about EXP, and he's considering moving his brokerage over. We do about the same amount of volume, but they spend about 10 times the amount in their budget of farming neighborhoods than we do by working our database. And so at the end of the year, when you look at your net profits, we far exceed them in profit because they're paying for brick and mortar. That was a great model back in the day for those of us before EXP. But those of us that now are minimizing our expenses with no brick and mortar, we're minimizing our expenses by connecting with our database. And we also are net profiting about 10 times the amount of that brokerage that's doing the same amount of volume as us. It wasn't critical at all. They were thinking, man, JD, but look at all the cool postcards that we're sending to thousands and thousands of people every week. And I'm like, but that's awesome. What about the 10,000 people in the database that are never hearing from you?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where this topic, this mindset of how do you get your database in a position that it's ready for you to communicate at a high level and for it to be an amazing source of business for you. So back to this superstar mindset, those of us that really were building something big and wanting to build something that's fabulous. And when I say big, that is very that's a very weird term. I mean, a big for some of those in your market may be very different than someone in my market. So let's just say if you set some goals that are big goals for yourself, and you're crushing it and going after it, we're aware, those of us like you and I, JP, we're aware that failure in sales is not caused by a deficit of talent or skills or training. It's not a poor farm or inferior listing presentations. It's not because we don't have enough listings. It's not a failure to ask for business and to close. It's the failure to have an empty pipeline. And the root cause of an empty pipeline is the failure to adequately prospect one's database. Now, is it fair, JP, to assume that where you live, that there are a number of mines in your state?
Of course. Yeah.
I've been in your state lots of times. I love it. And I love mining. I love kind of going in with one of those helmets and those headlamps and going in with a pickaxe. And, thankfully I've not had one cave in yet and lost my life, but I just kind of love exploring. And in business and in real estate, when we have that mindset of exploring and mining and finding out how can I help this family, and it may not be real estate today. It may simply be to be the source, the go-to for any and all things that they may need. We have a massive prospect of and preferred vendor list. And if someone needs anything for their home or for their life, if they ever put it out there on Nextdoor, an app that we use here, or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, I'll see all the time that people are saying, contact JD or at the Tomlin team. Those guys have and know everybody. And when you're the source of the source, you become even more than an attractive real estate presence in your community. And so when we began to really mine and really go after and really discover how we could help more and more and more people in our area, we discovered that every swipe of the axe is one strike closer to hitting gold. We've heard so many stories of how people have given up on a mine, they've walked away, and somebody else came in and had a little bit of discipline and diligence. They started swinging the axe, they started spending a little time and money, and they hit the jackpot. Well, it's because someone before them was too lazy and gave up too quickly. And it just takes diligence and discipline. And so that's where I want to kind of hang out for a second. For me, I've discovered over the years that for every 20 conversations that I have with my database, I will have at least one buyer or one seller ready to work with me. But I've got to have 20 conversations, right? So if my goal this week and this month and this year is, let's say my goal this month is 20 transactions, I've got to be able and willing to have at least 20 conversations a day for 20 days to build the pipeline to hit my numbers. And the reality is, most of us, we make a few calls or we find some business. Well, we neglect doing that every day because we're busy for a few days. And then we come back and go, oh, I got to work on that pipeline again. And we start swinging the axe again. And that's why business does this and this. It's up and down. It's never steady or on the rise because of our inconsistency. Now, that 20 contacts that turns into one buyer or seller for me, I've got to do this. I've got to be repetitive. All right, I'm going to give you a few steps, 7 steps to hitting your gold mine in your database. 1, be repetitive. Do it every day. Number 2, add credibility with content. So when I'm contacting people, what do you say, JD? Well, for me, it may today be simple as, guys, we just helped somebody close a deal with 2.75 interest rate, which is amazing. We've never seen anything that low. Would you like for me to connect you with our financial partner, who's also our mortgage lender, who could just at least see what you could do today that you couldn't do a year ago? Or B, hey, what about COVID and the lock-in shelter in place? We've got more people than ever buying lake houses or ranches because if they can work from anywhere they want, they're taking their families to the lake house and spending 4 weeks there. And there's some amazing deals right now. Would you like to know more? Right? So just some content with some credibility. Number 3, set a minimum number of contacts daily and don't go to bed until you hit them. So yesterday, I just reached out to my team while I'm down here taking care of my parents for a couple of days and said, all right, guys, 5 people. That's all I'm asking for today. 5 people before you go to bed. Contact them, have conversations, report. Tell me what happened. And did you know that everybody that did that came up with some incredible stories and opportunities that they wouldn't have had if they had not made those calls? And they didn't do them before they went to bed, including myself. And it turned into a new listing when I get back later today in the Dallas area. Number 4, make people feel important. Come from contribution. Man, just how can I help make your life better today? It's amazing how people respond to that question when you ask them. Number 5, establish accountability and create a pain or pleasure strategy. Now, there are some team members, JP, on my team that what drives them is that vacation that they've always wanted to take if they hit their numbers. But for others, what drives them is that if they don't make the calls or the contacts today, they've got to make a $100 contribution to the last place that they would ever want to contribute money.
Mm-hmm.
Or that they've got to give it to the team and it goes into a pot for something that we're going to do. And instead of making it, they're giving it away. And that's a pain point for some, whereas others respond to pleasure. Personally, I respond to pleasure. And if I know that I could get that dream home in Colorado for my family, that is a getaway, I'm not paying somebody else to stay in their place, it's my own place. If I've got that goal in Estes Park, where my family just came back from, not too far from you, bro.
Yep.
And if that could be not only our place, but also a place that we could bless our family and friends, dude, that motivates me to do what we're talking about today. And that is pleasure. All right, number 6, do what others aren't willing to do. It is amazing how many incredible agents I talk to that are, that when you ask them, how's it going? Man, I'm so busy. Well, that's awesome. What are you doing to create busyness? Well, it's just kind of falling in my lap. Well, what's your 6 months from now look like? Oh, I'm not sure about that. I just know what the next month looks like. Bro, that's a scary place to be. If you're running your business just for the next 30 days, there will be a day that you're looking for another career. You will not last in real estate if you're not building that pipeline and creating opportunities 6 months, 12 months out. I've got a spreadsheet, if I were to share the screen with you right now, that shows for about the next 2 years, people that are going to buy and sell. And it's probably got 200 people on that spreadsheet. It's a pipeline. I know exactly when and where we need to be, and the communications that we're having regularly to make sure that somebody else isn't getting them because of my neglect. And so we've got to do that. All right. So I said, hit the jackpot. You got to have repetition, add credibility with content and care, set a minimum number of contacts daily, and don't go to bed until you hit them. Number 4, make people feel important, come from contribution. Number 5, establish accountability. Make sure that somebody's checking in with you, and then know your pain or your pleasure points. And then number 6, do what others aren't willing to do. Number 7, really challenging, just repeat. Just repeat. Just do it every day. And so I want to kind of camp out. I know we're running short on time, man. I am long-winded today.
You're good.
But I want to talk about how a lot of our business and this mining your database and working your sphere, what it turns into for us. And that is referrals, not just agent to agent referrals, but I'm talking when someone has had an incredible experience with you and they start telling all their friends about you. That's where it really gets fun. A lot of our business comes exactly from that. And, here's a great example. I met a really cool couple at a veteran event not too long ago, doing a tactical shoot. Now, before you start yelling, oh, this guy's a gun-loving, NRA-loving redneck. No, I was just supporting some men and women in the military service and at a tactical shoot. And I meet this husband and wife that were decorated naval veterans that were, I wanted to go too far, but what they do is so under the radar. I'm just going to stop there. But they're really cool people. And they've done a lot to serve our country. And so we meet this tactical shoot. We make a friendship. And then about 2 months later, they contact me about selling their house. We meet, we get the house on the market, we sell it quickly. They're moving pretty far away. I connect them with another great agent who happens to be an EXP. He helps them find a house quickly, and they began to become our biggest raving fans. They start telling all of their friends who are and are not in the armed services about our team and how great we've done, and not just how good of a job we did, but how connected we were to who they were and what was important to them. And we're going to go down and see them in San Antonio in a couple of weeks and celebrate their new home with a lot of their friends that they've served in our armed forces with. And they have begun already telling people about us, I mean, left and right. And some of them aren't in our market center. So what does that turn into? Referral opportunities to other agents in other cities and states, simply because we created not just a great business model, but we also created relationship. And so we have that's kind of our sweet spot, JP, is just how, this whole topic, turning your database into a gold mine. People want to work with you when they love you and when they trust you and they know you have their best interest in mind. And it's nothing new, but your database will become your loyalist. Here's where I'm going with this. Their word of mouth marketing will become contagious. And it's the most powerful and beneficial kind of marketing for the simple reason of what others say about you is 10 times more believable than what you say about yourself. 10 times.
Sure.
That's huge. And now we had a guy a while back helping us try to get build our reviews, our Google reviews, our Facebook reviews, just to be more intentional about going after people we've done business with. Because you'd think it'd be easy for somebody to go on Google and give you a review, but it's not. I mean, it takes time for them to give a very thoughtful review about your business. We have become the number one team or individuals in the Dallas-Fort Worth market anyway on Google reviews. I think we have something like, I don't know, 150 or so today, which is not huge given the fact that we've helped thousands and thousands of people. But the fact that 150 or so were willing to spend the time to write about us and share with others why they should look at the Tomlin team is a gift that I don't take unnoticed or that I don't take for granted. And this statistic that I want to share with you comes from the Boston Consulting Group. And they released an exhaustive study recently that proved that the loyal clients that you and I and the listeners today that we have in our world, the couple that I just talked about that were naval officers, the loyal clients will be responsible, get this number, for 800% more revenue than anything else that you do. 800%. And so when I saw that number, I'm like, good grief. If I did 100 transactions with no one else but my loyalists, that would turn into 80,000 pieces of business in the future. That's what Boston Consulting Group said. 800 times more business than anyone else. Communicate with them. Here's where we're going with this. Celebrate them. Treat them in extraordinary ways. Enjoy the relationship and the results. So, here's what Walt Disney said. He said the way to be very successful in real estate is to do what you do so well that people cannot resist telling others about you. And I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World or Disneyland, but years ago, I came back from Disneyland when the kids were little out in California, and was telling one of my good friends about it because he's from California, from Orange County. And he says, JD, do you know what I do for a living? And I said, well, I've never quite figured it out. I mean, I know that you're an entrepreneur, a self-made millionaire, but I really don't know what you do. And he goes, you know that land that Disneyland sits on? It's my family's land. And he goes, it was my great-grandfather's orange orchard, orange farm, that Disneyland has I think, could be wrong here, like a 200-year lease on. I manage our family's lease with Disneyland. And I was like, wow, that unbelievable. Can you imagine the amount of revenue?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. Streaming through that opportunity. Now, where am I going with that? It's not just a random story. But when Walt Disney said, do what you do so well that people can't resist telling others about you. Well, when Walt Disney and others were looking for where they were going to put Disneyland, and they met with my friend's great-grandfather, he was so not just convincing about why his land was the perfect location, but he was also consistent and persistent in his communication with them and offering something of value, and he just didn't give up. He was resolved to make something special happen. Now, there probably would have been a lot of other great places for Disneyland to locate, but there it is. It's right there in Orange County, and a story now of a family whose orange farm has turned into multiple millions of dollars simply because a great-grandfather of my friend John decided that Walt Disney was and that business was someone to invest in and someone to go after. Now, here's the deal. Everyone around us, it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter how big or how small their mansion is. Everybody that we know that can fog a mirror needs a place to call home. Mm-hmm. And we offer a service and an opportunity that very, very, very few people have the opportunity to offer. When we look at, gosh, how can when somebody's coming out of college, I've got, one of my kids right out of school going, what do I do with my skill set? How do I help people? And I'm like, listen, if you ever wanted to be in our business here, just know that everybody needs and wants a place to call home. And it may be an apartment, it may be a house, it may be a ranch or a farm or the state of Wyoming and own all of Casper. I don't know, but everybody needs and wants a place to call home. Why? Because home is a peaceful refuge for us. And when we look at people's basic needs, shelter is right there at the top, bro. And we offer not just a service, but we offer a relationship that helps people find what's most important to them. And when we do it with integrity, when we do it with tenacity, when we do it with communicating and helping those that are our loyalists, then mining our database and going and doing what other people aren't willing to do, then I got a feeling, JP, that the listeners today that are willing to do what others aren't willing to do will find that 800% more revenue because of the people that we're working with. Our loyalists are helping us grow our business. So, bro, in the next 10 years, if that's true, the Tomlin team's business model will look very different than it did today, right? So 180 transactions or so that we're on target for right now will turn into thousands of transactions in the next decade, simply because of the amount of times that people move and the amount of times that they're going to refer other people to us. And so our team is going to be continuing to be built with agents that are, here's the three keys I look for in building teammates: humble, hungry, and smart. That's it. If you're humble enough to put others before yourself, if you're hungry enough to do what others aren't willing to do, and if you're smart enough, man, anybody can learn real estate. But it's the emotional intelligence, the relational intelligence that really makes the difference in this career, this business. People know that we're not after a transaction. People know we're simply here to help them. Right. And bro, that makes all the difference in the world. And it's why I get up every day and love what I do. All right. I did not take but 2 breaths in the last 40 minutes. Now, what questions do you have for me?
I mean, you kind of nailed it. What it comes down to at the end of the day, it's about, being hungry, humble, and smart. I mean, that's the key to being productive. It's the key to reaching out to your database. It's the key to, being able to intelligently go through a transaction without, and if things start to go sideways, you're able to have the ability to get it right back on course. It gives if your agents are able to deal with those difficult conversations and, guiding your folks to try to take so much of the emotion out of the process and look at the facts. Yeah. And, that's what it really comes down to. I mean, it's literally just being consistent, doing it every single day, and not trying to get too creative. Because I think sometimes when you get agents that get too creative, that's when you get in trouble, and that's really what at the end of the day, that's how you build. And then you just got to duplicate, you duplicate those within each and every agent, that as you bring them on your team, this is the model, this is the strategy, this is how we create, a monster of a team, that SEAL team. There's I think there's a couple of books out there about how you build a SEAL team, and that it's very specific and it's very strategic and it's very consistent. And that's how you do large amounts of volume especially with less people. Now, is your guys' goal to grow your team larger than the 7, or are you guys just comfortable where you're at right now?
It's funny because there's a big part of me that wants bigger, because we think bigger is better. And there's another part of me that wants to simply get better. And with any XP, there is a certain level that if you hit with a number of agents, you become this mega team. And we were right there pre-COVID And there's now a part of me that's like, if we get there, great, but it's going to be with the right people. That's it. It's simply, if we get there, it's because the right people got on the right seat in the bus. But if we don't have as many as we did before, that's okay with me, as long as we are offering the level of service, because each agent on our team is very capable. But with the background and the assistants and the team, the models that we have in place, the administrative side, every agent's capable of doing 100 transactions per agent on our team. And so I would rather get 5 or 6 of our teammates doing 100 transactions apiece and letting our administrative team carry all the air traffic control services for them, than I would 20 agents doing 10 transactions apiece. And so that excites me, because I can help 6 or 7 of my teammates create a really big life. And it's a lot simpler than trying to have a 20 or 30 or 40 agent team. Now, I say all that to say this. If you're listening today and you've got 1 or 2 people on your team, or you've got 200 people on your team, I think we all want the same thing. We all want to get better. We all want to not just do more business, but we want to have a better life. And, I'm at the point in my life, JP, with my last kid going off to college, that I still want, and I want to be in the game. I love doing real estate, but man, I also love connecting in my kids' lives, and being, one college is in one state, another's in another state, and then being present for my team, and learning to leverage is key. And so where I'm improving right now is taking where we're at, leveraging more of what I can, so that I can be more involved in my kids' lives that are away at school, and I can still be plugged into our clients' lives here at home. And so, man, Zoom has been awesome to be able to do that with people. And I am not afraid of the phone. I know a lot of people hate calling, because they're like, oh, what do I say? Well, just check in on people. Come from contribution. It's amazing what they'll do and say when you call. And here, let me give you this as we're wrapping up. Part of this business for EXP anyway is also attracting others to a very attractive broker model that we have. I've always said that I'm just a beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. That's all I am. And so I was just telling another buddy who recently joined EXP from another brokerage, who then told his buddy in another country in which he came from when he moved to the U.S. And now we're in talks with a brokerage of over 1,000 agents from another country who are just about to join EXP, simply because conversation took place. Simple as that. So we have conversations with people. How can we help you? And it may turn into buying and selling homes. We have contribution and conversations with other realtors. How can I help you grow a bigger life? Yeah. And they come to EXP, and then they tell other people, they're beggars telling other beggars where to find bread. And all of a sudden we see opportunities like we would never have believed or imagined, simply because we're willing to have an emotional and relational intelligence of connecting with people on a higher level. And man, I'm so glad we got to do that today, JP. I mean, anytime I'm ever have an opportunity to send someone your way, bro, it's coming.
Awesome.
And if I can help you, and if I can help any listeners here today, just with some of the concepts and thoughts, man, I'm here. JD at thetomlinteam.com. That's simple. JD at thetomlinteam.com. And again, just because we're in the North Dallas region doesn't mean that we can't collaborate and help one another grow bigger and better lives.
Awesome. Well, we're out of time. That was awesome. Way to wrap it up. I didn't even have to do anything.
Hey, man, just look cool, dude. I wish I had that look, bro.
All right, man. Well, thank you again for joining us today with another episode of the Success Agent Podcast.